So this seriousness on Imperial, where did it come from? Do you know?
Anger, emotion,
About
loss.
what?
Huh?
About what?
Just me losing.
Okay.
Like me failing. I didn't want to fail.
In terms of music?
Yeah, in life in general.
Well, this I usually save this question for a little bit later, but it kind of ties in because I always like to ask, well, what is your definition of success?
Definition of success is making sure you're comfortable and everybody else is comfortable around you.
So when you say that you kind of felt you were failing in life, what were you missing?
I felt like I just lost a lot of people.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Not saying that I necessarily fell out with anybody or nothing like that. I just felt like, you know, things was going in the right direction. Like I felt as if, you know, my emotions was gonna run my life. Me being sensitive was gonna run my life and everything. And then that was gonna probably like cause me to destroy myself and everything that I try to build. And I'll end up like some people I know, but you know, I just had to pull out of that.
Did writing help? Did writing the album help?
Yeah, writing the album did help though, because I had eternal conflict,
Sure.
and I just wanted to release it.
Is there one track maybe that had this in particular for you, the kind of a release or?
This Life.
Okay.
This Life.
What was the starting point for that track?
The starting point was, I mean, I just got up one morning and went to Ronnie and I was like, yo, let's make something, and then This Life came out.
Okay.
And then we took it to the studio, and then Zach and Fanatic, they listened to it and it's like, yo, this is dope, because we played them all the Imperial skeletons, because we make demo tracks before we even like make the real tracks, and we had 8 demo tracks that was like good, and then we created the last 2 in the studio.
Right.
So I played them This Life, and it was like, yo, this could go, and then it took about a week or 2, a week and a half to rebuild most of the beats, and they told me to come back to the studio and go back over them with the same lyrics, and This Life was the one that stood out, and we knew that one was going to be the one. In
that sense, do you always have, or often have the lyrics ready before you add a beat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes. Well, most times. In the Skeleton case, like when we're making the demo tracks, yeah, they're pretty much ready. It's just like building post-production and all that stuff.
So the writing of the verses, and when does this happen? Do you have to be alone for it? Do you have to be in a certain mood for it?
I mean, I write to no beat.
Okay.
So I could think like clearer instead of being tied to one thing. Like me writing to no beat is just like sort of like writing poetry, man. Because poetry has no beat, and I just think about the BPM in my head, and I just keep writing.
Do you know what you're writing about when you start? Do you have an idea if I want to talk about this?
It just formulates. Okay. Sometimes I do know, like Gook, I knew what I was gonna write.
Okay.
This Life, I knew what I was gonna write. Story with No Title, that was like, I thought about this J. Cole song, what was that called? Back to the Topic. I thought about that beat, and then that's how Story with No Title came about.
Well, that track in particular, I'd kind of underlined, so, because, well, what was the starting point for that track? Was that an important track for you?
Yeah, because it was like certain stuff that was going around in my life, but I just made you get a gist of a story with no title, because it's like Story with No Title is just your life.
And then, so where do you see it going now? Because things are going well. The album has been received well. Where do you want to go next?
I want to go deeper with the subject matter and get more musical with this next album, but I still wanted to be as well structured as Imperial was.
Because a lot of this is about your own. Do you want to dig deeper into yourself, or do you want to look at the world more in a way?
Both.
Okay. Because, well, obviously it's a tumultuous time, not just in America, but in the world over. So does that influence what you write? And you mentioned the anger that you had?
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to ULT, when all these black kids and black men and black women was being murdered, like, with no justice, that's what caused me to write ULT, because, like, you know, it's like a certain justice thing. And I wanted to put it on World Star for a reason. And the reason behind that, because, like, World Star, the urban, like, market looks at World Star a lot. And when they look at World Star a lot, like, they see like fight compilations, they see like this, that, and stupid and some crazy shit. So I was like, when we put up something so radical that they'll like be like, damn, this is what it should be on World Star, you know? And that was like the whole game plan.
Well, I came across something very interesting, and obviously you can talk about it as much as you like, but you're from Carroll City, Florida. And I believe it's the same high school where Trayvon Martin went to.
Yeah.
And you were around that same age. So what did that shape kind of your mentality?
No, I mean, yeah, it did, because it's like that's close to home. Somebody that was from there, you know. Like I know Trayvon Martin's cousin.
Right.
I know his brother. Well, I met his brother and everything at this place called CD4. I met his brother and he was like, "Yo, thanks for speaking out on my brother." And I was telling him like, "Yo, that shit happened to my brother. My brother got killed by police."
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel you on that shit.
So does writing about these things help internally to make sense of things, or
Yeah, it needs to, because if it don't be said, like who's gonna say it?
Right.
Nobody ain't gonna say it. There ain't gonna be no justice. The only way to change the world is like changing yourself and adapting to the world and having an understanding of everybody's cultures instead of being judgmental and critical on everybody's cultures.
Right, and then I think you touched upon an interesting point because, well, we talked about conscious rappers, and I think you can now see two trends. One is kind of the mainstream, I suppose, and then there's people who talk about political subjects. So where do you see yourself, and then what do you see about the hip-hop culture in general?
I don't know. Sometimes the hip hop culture don't even want to accept the new artists because and I don't even know where that standpoint is, you know? All I just know is I know what I want to talk about. I know what my subject matter is. I know how I got to dig deeper and what I got to do to keep evolving.
So have you thought about we talked about the next step, so have you started writing already for
The next album? Yeah.
What do you notice?
I mean, I didn't notice anything yet. It's gonna take me some months till I really see some dynamic change within the subject matter and my lyrics, but the structure is still there. Like, I know how to structure things. It's just the subject matter gotta get deeper, but I'm trying to get most of the creative juices out before, you know? So I know how to like approach things and how to say things, and if I'm comfortable with saying things, you know?
Well, was it difficult, especially at first, to kind of open up that way, and be vulnerable that way?
I mean, at first, yeah, until This Life. This Life was the only track I feel like I was able to be very vulnerable.
Well, what made we talked about the track already, but what made this track different than that allowed you to be this way?
I mean, it was just, it's something that people would see. Most people would expect me to like to rap fast and to turn up and everything, but I approached it different. I approached the beat very differently.
Okay. Do you see yourself working like this more?
Yeah, like singing and stuff, yeah.
Finally then, well, there's one thing, I think you went to art school for a while.
Yeah.
Is that something you're still interested in? Something you still occupy yourself with?
No, because I'm an artist now. You know.
But in terms of the aesthetic of what you do, do you?
No, I already got it. That's just concept art.
Right.
That's all concentration. Most of the albums, I treat them like concentration. That's a project. When you do a project, it's one concentration on like one idea and sticking to that one idea.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.